So I'm gonna look down at my notes. Oh, Spinzilla. So I'm on the West 7th Wool Spinzilla team. So what I have been doing, my Instagram has been a little bit quiet as far as things that I've made, but look at all this fluffy goodness. Get it even closer. Oh. So this is actually Jacob wool. And I love it. It just makes me happy. So I'll post a picture on Instagram of my wall behind me and all the carding I've been doing. I invested last year in a used electric Patrick Green carder. And so I've been pretty committed in processing multiple fleece that I was blessed with by a dear friend, Lorelei. And so again, there is a post on my Instagram if you're interested in seeing all of these fleece. She surprised me one day and she said, open your garage door. So I did. She had already left and she had stacked up a ton. I forget. It was, I want to say it was 20 something fleece. They went up to almost to the top of the back of my truck, behind my truck. And so I told her that I would make sure that they found good homes and that I put them to good use. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm spending time. I already washed the fleece and now I'm carding the fleece. So again, if you're not familiar with carding, it's the process of opening up the fibers so it spins more easily, and also a lot of vegetable matter, grassy bits and things like that fall out during the process. So it is a dirty job, and my little room here, it does get dirty, but that's all part of the fun. I really do enjoy it. So that is what I'm doing to prepare for Spinzilla. And as much as I wish that I could join my team, my actual team, I do, as I mentioned on my Instagram, I do work at a place, a living museum here in Fort Worth called the Log Cabin Village. And so I am working during the week as well as every other weekend. So my weekends are pretty limited. I really have to be pretty picky and can't do all of the wonderful things that I want to do. But I do hope to get to visit with them soon, face to face, and not just on Instagram. But boy, is it fun seeing what everybody's doing to prepare for Spinzilla 2017, which will be in October. So let's see, as far as things that I've finished, I'm pretty much up to date on my Instagram as far as that goes. The Find Your Fade, I started that about 3 weeks ago. So I haven't finished anything. Like I said, I've been processing almost every single day all of this wool. I have been doing some spinning. Looking around my room. One of the things I wanted to show you. This is Fabulous Fibers that I purchased at West 7th Wool, and it's been a lot of fun to spin. And I've been spinning that on a drop spindle that I purchased a couple of years ago from Butterfly Girl at DFW Fiberfest, and I've really been enjoying that. It's a very nice, soft, squishy spin, and so that makes me very happy. But before my podcast ends, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about just kind of letting you know what the future of this podcast may entail. Excuse me. Is I really have high hopes to interview others, possibly every other week, other artisans. So some will be fiber artists and others will be musicians, painters, woodworkers, psychologists actually. I do consider science and art, even though I don't consider myself scientific and I can't speak about science in a knowledgeable way. I love to listen to other people do it. So there are a few people who have already told me that they would be interested in being interviewed. And so science of the brain and the heart and just how we live life on a daily basis, all of that captivates me to no end. And so I want to be talking about that conversation. I don't even exactly know what to call that, but I just want to talk about how making helps us, and it helps us connect to others and ourselves in a better way. So one of the things that I want to show you on that topic is a doll that I got when I was a little girl, and she was made actually for my great grandmother, who in her older age, I believe she was probably in her late 80s, my great grandmother would tell me that she was senile. That was the word that was used in the 70s. I'm not sure that that's necessarily an appropriate word these days, but that was what I was told when I was a little girl, that she needed something to take care of, and so she would pretend to feed this little doll that I'm about to show you that my great grandmother made for her. And I was probably about 10 when I was given this doll, and it just inspired me as a young person to want to make things. And again, the fascination with the need to create and the need to have things that were handmade and how that could impact other people. So this is the doll. And I just think she's so cute. She's on my Instagram early on when I first started Instagram. So I'll take the little sweater off. I made a baby sophisticate sweater for a dear friend. Oh, that doesn't look very nice, holding her by her neck. But the baby sophisticate, made it, and the little baby ended up being much larger than we had anticipated. And that's actually when I learned, not for myself, that I'm just not interested in making very many baby items that are smaller than 2 years old. So this is her with her cute little 1970s dress, and you can see her dear sweet little neck that I've repaired several times, and her hair. But it's her eyes. Look at those eyes. Isn't she cute? Doesn't she just make you happy? She needs a little work. I'm gonna dedicate some time to love on her, but she's all handmade. And the dress is machine stitched. Just a very basic rag doll. But I obsess about things pretty easily, and they can be negative. I can have negative obsessions, but for the last several years I've really tried to challenge myself to take all those negative things and obsess about really cool things like rag dolls. and Blue October and yarn. So let me get this other doll. So I was inspired by that sweet baby girl to make a Waldorf doll a few years ago. And so this is my Waldorf. And again, she's also handmade, hand stitched with her crazy hair. So what's especially fun about her is when I turn her around, oh, the sun, it's shining bright. So underneath here, that is all my very first hand spun yarn with my spinning wheel. So this on top that's really smooth and somewhat consistent, that is store-bought. But what's underneath, and I do have some of my hand spun on top. If I were to make her now, I probably would have put the hand spun on top, but I felt less confident about all of that imperfection when I made her. But I named her Sophie, and I'll explain why later. But she is filled with wool that was sent by a sweet, sweet friend named Brandy that I actually met at the stockyard. Sorry about that. Somebody was trying to call me. Anywho, my friend Brandy actually owns sheep as well as alpaca, and we met at the Fort Worth stock show and rodeo several years ago. And what's fun about that story is I had in my mind, I was intending to meet a shepherdess, a woman who raised her own sheep and cared for her sheep. And I went to the stock show, and I'm sure it's a tiring weekend. I can only begin to imagine. People would be fatigued. I would be fatigued. So there's no judgment, but I was aware. Everybody had their face down, looking at their phones, scrolling, except this one beautiful beaming light, Brandy. And so she and I got to talk for a few minutes and trade information, and before I knew it, she had shipped me on her own wool for me to make dolls with. And at that time, my intention was to make dolls just like Sophie here and sell them, and then take a percentage of that and give it to families who were experiencing cancer, because those medical bills can just be such a drain and so hard for the family. And so this sweet doll took so long to make, and I did make another one that I realized that's not something I'm going to be able to sustain, and that's just the honest truth of that. So I find other ways excuse me, to help out where we can with that. But just her heart, her kindness, her generosity was so touching, and to this day we follow each other on Instagram and chat sometimes, and I'm hoping to get to visit her soon. And I think that just, again, as we all know in the fiber community, just how generous people can be. And so I will show you this little baby sophisticate. It's green. It's that color of green that I really like a lot. It's very heathered, but this was the sweater that was intended for my friend's baby that ended up being a little bit too small. And so rather than giving it away, I just felt like I wanted to keep it and keep it on my doll. So it's just a cozy little sweater. Well, let's see what else. I have nothing else to say. My intentions are to try to do this every 2 weeks. With that, I know myself, and I know how I can be very excited about doing something, and then the day comes and I'm not feeling it. So for me, I'm just going to be honest, I do have some reservations about saying, yes, every 2 weeks this is going to come out. I think it might be close to every 2 weeks, but it could be just very sporadic. So that's just the truth. So if you've joined me and you've enjoyed this podcast, I hope you come back, and I hope that you are having a wonderful week full of fibery fun. I love to say that to my friends who are not in the knitting community or in the fiber arts community, because they just look at me like, what are you talking about? But now, since we've all been friends so long, most of them are pretty up to date on what that means. But I will mention a couple of podcasts that I really enjoy, video podcasts that I enjoy a lot, and that is The Yarn Junkie with Amber. She's been a great encouragement to me. I want to thank her. And Fiber Treks really inspires me to do more with the wool that is local to me here in Texas. And when I go to Oregon, I'm hoping to actually visit a farm. If anybody has any connections in the Oregon, Washington area with sheep or alpaca farms, I would love to visit and possibly purchase a fleece. And the Ninja Chickens, that's another favorite of mine right now. And so with all that, I just want to say happy knitting, happy spinning. Just enjoy it. I know you are. And thank you so much for joining me. And I do look forward to growing this video podcast and doing better and learning a little bit more as I go along. I come into this not knowing a thing, so just throwing it out there. But farewell. Bye-bye.